This is another episode of Flight Ringer's Super Talk. I'm David King. That's Dan Spottswood.
Hello.
We're professional cartoonists. We're Legion of Superheroes experts.
We know everything there is to know about the Legion of Superheroes up to 1995.
Yeah, just ask us. This is the letters page, Legion Outpost for Legion of Superheroes, the Baxter era, number 27. Ate that greasy pizza. Do you shop at Trader Joe's?
I don't personally. My wife goes there probably every week.
They have a new pizza. It's vegetarian cheeseburger pizza. And so it has this non-meat crumbles. It has dill pickles. It's the best pizza they have.
Is it like that grown meat?
I don't think it's like Impossible meat. But it tastes good, and it kind of does taste like a cheeseburger. Like it has this kind of sweet tomato sauce on it, So it's not like ketchup, but it's a little bit sweeter than pizza sauce, typical pizza sauce. I eat them like crazy now. It's a staple of my diet. These,
I'm sure that'll end well.
I had 3/4 of one for dinner tonight.
Yeah, eat about 5 of these a day.
Well, the last time I ate one, I'm like, you know what? I should cook 2 of these at a time. They're so good.
I just roll it up like a burrito and shove it down my throat.
Like Yogi Bear style.
All right. So what's going on? What are our bits of Legionnaire business this week? So this week, the Legionnaires make their triumphant return in the pages of Green Arrow.
That was this week's issue of Green Arrow?
I don't know if it was this week's. It was recent. I know because over on the Facebook page, I followed a bunch of other Legion-related fan pages, and a bunch of people posted about it. Connor Hawk. They're just all the guys they don't know what to do with, all those like temporary replacement guys.
Like the legacy picks up the mantle of the whatever.
Right. To keep people happy instead of just killing them off and forgetting about them, they're just going to start shipping them to the future.
Super lame.
It's just JLA 3000 now,
Well, why don't they put them? They actually had JLA 3000.
Is it 3000?
I think so.
That same number?
Yeah. Like it was a Keith Giffen comic. It was called Justice League 3000.
Oh, I didn't know. So they're in the same time?
I have no idea. I never read it, but it's supposed to be a futuristic Justice League comic.
Weird.
I feel like it was by Giffen and DeMatteis, and I think that guy Howard Porter, who drew like the Grant Morrison Justice League kind of reboot or whatever, the Grant Morrison Justice League. But I feel like it has like Superman 1,000,000 in it or something, like somebody who looks like that.
Right. Is Booster Gold on the team?
I don't know. I've seen the covers, but I don't know anything about it. But
yeah,
could it really be 1,000 years in the future? I don't know.
Same team.
If they have a future Justice League comic, just put those fuckers on that instead of in the Legion of Superheroes. We don't need them.
But they feel they do. Is the problem. But like I've probably mentioned 10 times before, this is like when Jim Valentino was doing Guardians of the Galaxy in the 90s. They had been around since the early 70s. And they were in their own kind of self-contained world with all original characters. But when he started doing the book, he's like, well, we need to give one of them the Spider-Man symbiote and Captain America's shield. And we need to see what Wonder Man's like in the future and what Wolverine's like. And it was a gimmick. Every issue would somehow call back to the present day characters.
Yeah. I mean, I get the impulse and it probably sells stuff, but like if you're already set up with something totally different, it is kind of stupid to have fucking Captain America 3000 and Superman 3000 and Lobo 3000 just all the time. Punisher 3000. Just give me a break, It just seems like such a hack move to do that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, people like Jim Valentino, don't they? But that sounds dorky.
I mean, I'm sure he's a nice person, but I don't know.
That's what I meant. Yeah, as like a comic book maker,
right?
Like he did Normal Man, right?
Oh yeah, didn't he kind of started sort of in the indies?
Yeah,
right. I remember that vaguely.
Like he's one of the Image like founder guys, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that's kind of his claim to fame, but I think he was sort of in the right place at the right time. Because I don't think any of his projects turned into monster hits like Youngblood and Spawn, Wildcats.
But what the hell did Jim Valentino do?
It was Shadowhawk,
Oh yeah,
which
Shadowhawk.
I do have some of because Keith Giffen drew some of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Trencher Shadowhawk crossover.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But he also did. I think he did some issues without Trencher in the.
Oh really?
There was like was it like images of Shadowhawk?
Yeah, he was like a black and white indie guy with Normal Man.
Like it was that like an Eclipse book or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Alongside E-Man.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like cartoony. And then Image did the Megaton Man, Normal Man, like crossover special.
Whoa, I never saw that. Book. I remember like Megaton Man. Is it Megaton Man?
I think it's Megaton. I think that's like a measurement of tons. There's megatons, for example.
Oh, that makes more sense.
But as a kid, I was always like Megaton. I thought it was like some sci-fi word. Sometimes I still struggle. I will accidentally say Megaton, but
Megaton Man. There was a Megaton Man Savage Dragon comic, I think.
Yeah, that's like a direct sequel to the Splitting Image Don Simpson parody of the Image people, and it like leads right into the Savage Dragon crossover.
Don Simpson do the whole thing, or was it like one of those books where he drew his guys and Eric Larson drew his?
That's what it was like in the Savage Dragon one, and I think the Normal Man one was the same way.
Okay.
Where each guy drew his own characters.
That's fun.
It seems like impossible. How would you even pull that off?
Sorry, I imagine. I imagine one guy's really doing everything except just blocking it the other guy. Right. Other guy's figures, and then he comes in and puts his style on top.
Yeah. Somebody has to like lay out everything.
Right.
Crazy. It would take forever to do that.
Well, Crumb did a bunch of those with his wife, right? But he's drawing almost everything except her into the panels.
Okay. Yeah. I know they did those kind of team up comics. I've never read them. I don't know how they look or what they're like.
They were okay.
Yeah.
I watched a few interviews with him this week, actually, where he's trying to weasel out of some of the things he's said and drawn before and kind of shitting on Me Too a little bit.
Shitting on you personally?
No, Me Too.
Oh.
Me Too scene. Oh. Yeah, Crumb's been mad at me ever since.
Yeah, like what'd you do that he's gonna shit on you in an interview?
That's a good question.
He's like, Janis Joplin fucking ripped me off. Dan Spottswood is talking shit all the time at SPX.
I did sort of hang out with his daughter for a little while, but I don't think I did anything that would make him want to fight me.
What'd you do to her?
I didn't do anything. That's the answer.
Whatever, dude.
We just hung out.
Who else was there? that Brownstein guy?
Which guy?
Charles Brownstein from the CBLDF, that guy.
Oh, no. Jesus Christ. I just remembered this. I went to her fucking apartment in New York and I was hanging out with her. And there was some gutter punk guy she hung out with. It's really big dude. And he thought maybe I was cutting in on his action or something, like he liked her. So he was like getting in my face like he was going to rip me in half. It was pretty harrowing. But when he heard my last, it's the craziest thing. It's like right out of a fucking movie or something. It turned out he was good friends with my sister-in-law from Kansas City. So my life was saved. My sister-in-law was kind of a gutter punk at one time, unfortunately.
Sister-in-law, like married to your brother?
Yes.
Like you weren't married at the time when you were trying to make time with Sophie Crumb?
No. Wait, I didn't say I was doing that. I'm just saying that's what it looked like.
It looked like you were definitely trying to steal Sophie Crumb away from this.
That's how he took it. That is definitely how he took it.
But you just wanted like a one-time thing with her. Just wanted some free comics.
Yeah. That's how I met Ed Pisker too.
What, you trying to get a hand job from
him? No. He was like following her around, and he seemed jealous that she was talking to me.
Wow, everybody's jealous of you.
He's like,
you don't sound full of shit at all.
He got in my face. He's like, so what do you do? What do you draw? Like, what business do you have talking to this girl? That kind of thing. Like,
Wow, weird.
I don't know. And I didn't know anything about him at the time. I'm like, what does that matter to you? What do you fucking draw? He's like, American Splendor.
Did you do this?
No, I told them, I really told them this. I was like, well, only the Robert Crumb comics, American Splendor comics were good. All the other ones suck. Anything like it shut him down. He's like, well, that's true. He put his head down. And then the next day at Mocha, I saw him and he like gave me a high five and he's like, he gave me some comics. So I guess we were good then. It was like 20 fucking years ago, probably.
Yeah, weird. First letter is from a guy named Willie Joyner, Jacksonville, Florida. He's like, I figured it out. No, not who Sensor Girl is. He says he thinks RJ Brand is Booster Gold.
What a dumbass. Obviously, this guy, some fan he is. What year is this? 1986, 87?
It's 1988. No, it is 86.
1988.
It's 86.
86. At least 5 years after the secret history of the Legion of Superheroes limited series. We all know who RJ is, and it is not Booster Gold.
Yeah.
Is Booster Gold a shapeshifter? I don't think so.
Right.
Pull your head out of your ass, Willie.
But he says, I think maybe some of this is in the phrasing, because he says, I have figured out what happened to RJ Brand. I think he's referring to the fact that we haven't seen much of RJ Brand in the Baxter period. So maybe he's been wondering where RJ Brand is, and he's decided that it's because RJ Brand is Booster Gold, and he's over there in the Booster Gold title. I don't know how
RJ. You're saying it went the other way around, like RJ changed his shape to Booster Gold.
Could be, yeah. It's like he came from the past to get rich in the whatever business he's in. He founded the Legion of Superheroes or backed them. Mm-hmm. He did some shenanigans where he goes to Durlo with Chameleon Boy and they bond and there's father and son. And then he disappears somewhere around 1984. We don't see him anymore. It's because he's gone back in time to become Booster Gold.
So he did, in fact, regain his powers on that pilgrimage.
I guess he must have. But it also doesn't hold up because I think they have a really, really clear origin for Booster Gold as so like the
Booster's kind of a dumbass, right?
Yeah, he's a dumb shit.
Right. He's kind of a lazy, unintelligent clown type character.
Yeah, he's a jock, and then he's a janitor, and then he robs the science museum to become a superhero, but he goes to the past to make sure he doesn't pay any consequences for robbing a museum.
Well, that does sound like billionaire behavior.
He's thinking like a billionaire.
Avoiding consequences, and maybe that's how he got his wealth. He took the almanac with him.
But he didn't have wealth, did he? Was he rich? I can't remember. Booster Gold.
No, but if he's RJ.
Oh.
But that would be if he started out as Booster.
Yeah, he didn't. He ended up as Booster.
Yeah.
He abandoned his empire and his family to become a poor superhero and hang out with Beetle Bailey all the time.
You know his name? Isn't his name Rene? Is it Rene?
Yeah, Rene Jacques Brand.
I noticed and they tried for a little while to refer to him as Rene instead of RJ, like during Gary Conway's era.
Oh, really?
Like in that issue we're covering next issue was one of those.
Huh.
Doesn't fit.
They should have had him speak French.
Yeah.
In those later Levitz series from the 2000s, he gives Brand some kind of dialect in the word balloons, and it's almost like he's like he sounds like Olaf from the Blackhawks or something. It's like he's a Dutchman or something.
What?
The way he talks. It's really weird. When I started reading this, I'm like, why is he talking like this?
Maybe he was replaced
by a foreign guy from Scandinavia.
The northern part of Durlia.
Yeah. It's weird. It's some kind of weird revision that Paul Levitz needed to make, I guess, to have RJ Brand speak in some kind of dialect. It's weird.
You know, in that issue that we haven't covered yet, Chameleon Boy's mom shows up in that.
What issue? The Walt Simonson one that you had talked about?
No, The one with the green Darth Vader looking guy.
Oh,
The one you
oh.
chose
We're
to
talking
be the
about it
next.
next week.
Right. Well, RJ is sort of involved in that story, but the mother, we never hear about the mother. The mother shows up. I don't think she even knows that RJ is the father.
She doesn't even know that she got RJ pregnant with Chameleon Boy.
Yeah. I don't
Because
think she's in on it.
typically on Durlo, when the mother gets the father pregnant, the father devours the mother. And in their case, he was
You're
he
doing
had
really
a,
good.
he
I'm
had a change of
believing everything
heart.
you're saying.
Right, he had a change of heart, and instead of devouring her, they just went their separate ways.
Did the fathers give birth?
Then he gave birth to Chameleon Boy. And then he turned Chameleon Boy over to his sister and brother-in-law to raise. They're childless, of course.
Is this real? I can't tell.
And then he went back in time with his brother to seek their fortune in the past. No, I made up all of that. I mean, the part where Bran's sister raised Chameleon Boy and going back in time with his brother. Or they go back in time? No, they just go to Earth to find their fortune. They don't go back in time.
Did Levitz even read the issues before? We're talking about like maybe 6 months to a year before he took over. Like this issue is not long. It's like 1981, I think. And Chameleon Boy's mom, along with like Ultra Boy's parents and Shadow Lass's parents, show up at the Legion headquarters.
I don't remember that. Wow. Like I said, the shit about Brand giving birth, I made that up.
I could see that. I could totally see that.
But I'm sure that they explained that the reason that Chameleon Boy doesn't know Brand is his father is because he was raised by somebody else who kept that a secret from him.
Mm-hmm.
And later they say that Brand and his brother, they went to Earth to seek their fortune, and Brand somehow got rich, and the brother, I don't know if they became enemies or what.
Became a supervillain.
Probably that's what happened, but I don't know. But they maybe both lost their shapeshifter powers.
Did he become like the other billionaire he's always competing with?
Oh, that would have been a good.
Is that guy's name like Jackson or something like that?
Oh, Macaulay.
Macaulay, yeah. Actually, the whole like he went back in time to seek his fortune. That sounds kind of cool, but also very unethical. It's like a future version of like, heading west to look for gold, heading to the past to like
to plunder the riches
right
that the 1% holds back in the past. We're going to get a piece of that. But I don't know how they jive it with the RJ Brand Derlin who's in like Invasion and in Legion 90. I don't know how that fits in.
Well, it would make sense if he didn't just go to Earth, he went back in time, like after he had the kid. But maybe in the Legion stuff, he was a native of the past who got sent to the future.
That must be it. Like he goes to the future, he resettles on future Durla, gives birth, and then becomes the billionaire, richest man in the universe. It must be how it shapes up.
Yes, little inelegant. Like the whole time swap is a little inelegant, like because it's not really exactly a swap because he has to go further back.
That just like it.
Or he doesn't go back. He doesn't go to where Phantom Girl disappeared. He had to go like 50 years previous or 30 years previous.
It just seems like it's another instance of like Giffen like fucking around and not having really a plan for how it's going to work out. But I don't know either.
4 a.m. He's high as fuck on meth. It sounded like a good idea at the time. He's trying to finish the breakdowns to Legion and Legion 89 at the same time. It's like, whoa.
Right. And he's got a Lobo miniseries and he's got first issue of Heckler coming out.
Right.
Green Lantern, Emerald Dawn, too.
A couple new universe books.
Anyway, Paul says, we have no idea if Booster Gold is really RJ Brand, but there's a Legion crossover with Booster Gold on sale now. We should do those. As I recall, that's a very stupid story.
I think I read it when I was reading everything, but I don't remember a single thing about it.
All I remember about it is at the end,
Does it explain why he has the ring?
Mm-hmm.
Like Brainiac left it behind or something.
Yeah, they explain how there's a Legion flight ring in the Science Museum in the 23rd century or 24th century or whatever, which is whatever 500 years prior to the existence of flight rings.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because Brainiac 5 gave a flight ring or his own flight ring to like fucking Ronald Reagan and George Bush at the end of that adventure or something. I'm like, what? I read that. I'm like, what the hell? Why would he do that? Aren't
Was he
those guys?
12th level intelligence? 12th level intelligence, my ass.
He doesn't remember that Ronald Reagan and George Bush are
You
two of
think
the
that
most renowned war criminals of the 20th century.
Yeah, he's such an idiot. He's smart enough to invent a time machine, but not smart enough to understand that maybe it's not a good idea to give someone in the past a flight ring.
Yeah.
Or to scoop up the most important person in the DC universe and bring him to the future just for the heck of it, where he could possibly die before he grows up to be, Superman. Not so bright.
I bet he gave Hitler a flight ring too.
Hitler fly?
Well, it was when Hitler was about
Hitler
to die.
lad.
And then it landed in the Nazi museum.
Oh yeah. The young Hitler, pre-Hitler Hitler.
Oh no,
like Hitler boy.
No, I think Bunker Hitler got the flight ring, and then
Bunker Hitler.
Eva Braun smuggled it to South America.
Oh,
I don't know.
Fascist lad. I think maybe there's a Legion story with Hitler in it.
I think there is too. I think
isn't there a Silver Age story where like the bad guy brings a bunch of like the worst dictators?
I think so. I think I flipped through that issue not too long ago. He was all over the place as like a bad guy 20 years after the war, right?
He was like a villain in Fantastic Four. There was this character named the Hate Monger, and at the end, when they finally defeated him, they unmasked him. It was Hitler.
It was literally Hitler? Wow.
Yep.
Huh. Well, I, for one, am glad they don't use Hitler as a villain anymore. He should be reserved as strictly a real-life villain. Don't, I don't know, whatever. Never mind.
Public service announcement.
Hitler, he's bad. Hitler's bad.
Hitler's no good.
Some people have forgotten that, but he was a very, very evil, awful person.
Some people have forgotten that, sadly.
He's not just another like world leader who was whatever on the wrong side of history, according to the United States.
Alternative facts.
Yeah, exactly. Like we can talk about like who, I don't know, like the presidents of like Iran or something like that, maybe, where everything we in the United States ever hear about them is like they're evil dictators and they're Muslim extremists and whatever. But then, like, no, they're just more of like a regular president in some country that's being oppressed by the United States, or sanctioned by the United States. Whatever we hear about them may or may not be true,
Right.
But see, Hitler, he really did kill a bunch of people and roast them in ovens and try to take over the whole world and shit like that.
Right. Yeah. Even if he had a moral justification, like, which he did not, but some of those guys do, because Americans have fucked with their country. But once you start death camps, there's no rationalizing that.
Right. Officially a bad person.
Right. Learned a lot from us, evidently.
Yeah.
I do know a lot of his philosophy was based on, he studied closely like the Jim Crow South.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like segregation, huh?
Yeah. A lot of that is American ideas.
Yeah. He learned from the best oppressor on the planet.
Right. And of course, you've seen the photos, like the big Nazi rallies in New York.
I haven't seen those, but I believe it.
He was pretty popular here for a little while.
Yeah. All right, let's move on.
Yes.
Robert G. Courtney of Bloomington, Indiana. His letter begins by praising the artwork in the Baxter series of Legion. He says he started out by liking Keith Giffen, and then surprisingly, he liked Steve Lytle after that, and then he still likes Greg LaRocque. And he says the thing that must be holding all these together, convincing him to like him, is the inking prowess of Larry Malstead. That's the magic number.
The glue.
Yeah, I guess so.
Do you think there's any validity to his assessment?
I mean, I think there probably is a little bit of cohesion between the. I mean, once you add the Larry Malstead inks to those three artists, but I think they all look like all those pencilers, regardless of the inker, all are pretty distinct. So I don't know. I think they're just maybe your opinion of LaRock will vary, but the other two guys, if you like those guys, you like them kind of regardless of the inker, unless it's like Vinnie Coletta or somebody.
Right. The best example I can think of, the only example I can think of an inker really doing what he's describing there, and like maintaining the look and feel of the book through different artists, is Joe Sinnott, who inked Fantastic Four for like 20 years. So even after Kirby left and like John Romita came, and then John Buscema and Keith Pollard and all these different guys, it always sort of had a familiar feel because it had the same inker all throughout. I don't know if Sinnott did Perez. I think he did.
I don't know if Malstead is the same kind of caliber, same cohesiveness as Joe Sinnott would be. But I don't know. I don't want to take anything away from the guy. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
But Robert Courtney, he says, I have to believe that Mr. Malstead is truly the one responsible for the best illustrated monthly title on the market. Mm-hmm. I know that can't be true, but it's kind of a funny thing to say. Robert Courtney then also praises Carl Kessel, who did wonders with Dan Jurgens, and he's currently the best inker of Giffen since Malstead.
Is that over on Tales?
No, I think Kessel is inking Giffen just on other comics, I think.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember, because Giffen didn't draw any Tales. I think maybe Kessel did some Ambush Bug, maybe.
He didn't do any of it? Oh, maybe he just laid some of it out.
Yeah, he didn't draw any of the Tales. I think Kessel inked Giffen on the Substitute Heroes special, and then in the annual. Yeah, annual number 1, Kessel did some inking over Giffen, and it does look really good. I would say better than the Malstead stuff.
Maybe this isn't the right time to ask, but something that I started thinking obsessively about in the last 2 days. Who has the longest run on Legion, artist wise? I know Paul Levitt's easily, writer wise.
Yeah.
Because I thought in my mind, for some reason, I thought it'd be Kurt Swan, because there's like at least there's almost like 100 adventure issues, right? But
80 or so, yeah.
But Fort did like half of those. He did a lot more of them than I thought he did. So I think those two each did like around, I don't know, 30 or 40 issues. It has to be Giffen, right? Some of those 70s guys stuck around very long.
Yeah, Grell did a bunch, but I don't think he did. I don't think he did 30 of them, but he might have.
Right. Even that Jimmy James guy, it feels like he's there forever, is only there like maybe 18 issues.
Yeah, I would say Grell or Giffen, or actually, you know who it is?
Who?
Jeff Moy on Legionnaires.
Oh.
I wouldn't be surprised if he drew more issues than anybody, because I think he did consecutive issues of Legionnaires, probably for 50 issues or something.
Oh, wow.
And then I think he also did some of the other title, and he did some annuals. But I mean, don't quote me on this. I may be wrong. I may be misremembering. But he's up there, which is weird. Like, he's such just like, we don't talk about that stuff ever anyway. So it's kind of forgettable who even drew any of them. But he did month after month drawing Legionnaires.
Okay.
But you're probably right. It's probably Giffen or Jeff Moy, because like LaRock, he didn't do the entirety of this Baxter. He did like the middle half or middle 2/3, I guess.
Lytle was there for at least a year, and then Giffen did like the last 10, 12 issues, right?
Yeah, he did 50 to 63, and then so what is
that? Giffen was actually on the previous series quite a while, longer than I thought. Like maybe
285 or 6 or 7 or something, up until 313.
Right.
That's a lot of issues just right there, isn't it?
We haven't even counted, 5 years later yet, or the annuals.
Yeah.
So I think he has to have the record, at least pre-Zero Hour.
Right.
And then I think it's either Swan or Fort afterwards.
Yeah, Swan probably drew.
Now, if you're doing covers, Swan would totally win, because I think he drew damn near every cover of Adventure.
Right. Swan probably started like right after Fort, like in issue 340 or something, and then up to. Well, he didn't do the last handful of them, right? That was when Mord were picked up. So
right.
But that was the last issue was 380. I don't know how many Mortimer might have done of those, but
right.
yeah. So you're right. Probably about 30 issues is what Swan did of Adventure
And he
Comics.
did, I don't know, maybe 5 more over the years, like
Yeah,
fill-ins and annuals, and like issues like 300.
yeah. No, it's definitely Giffen. Yeah, when you think
Yeah,
about how Giffen did about 35 issues of the 5 years later period,
right.
uh,
Maybe
what
20.
87 to 13 is what 26. Yeah, so he's done that's 60 right there, plus
Right.
the another 15 in the Baxter issues.
Hmm.
Yeah, so he's done 100 issues of Legion basically, because he came back later on and did a couple and just
Right.
done stuff here and there.
Right.
Yeah,
Like the sub issues and
yeah, yeah. I don't think anybody's done over 50 except Giffen, right?
right.
Yep.
He would almost be beloved by Legion fandom if they didn't feel he destroyed it.
Yeah, you would think people would give him credit just for getting that job, for that
Yeah, I
long.
think they used to until it got rebooted, and I think they blame him for it.
Whatever. I like them. I still think they're good comics. Like some
Same.
of my favorite, the best comics.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, back to this inker talk. This guy Courtney Kessel's the best inker on Giffen since Malstedt. Oh, and by the way, I like Jerry Ordway. If you ever need an inker, you should hire Jerry Ordway. Yeah, he's good.
It is good.
I like him as a penciler better than an inker, but well, maybe I don't. Maybe he's a better inker.
I don't know if he's ever done. He's certainly drawn Legionnaires in other books, but I don't think he's drawn any issues of Legion, right?
I don't think he has. I don't think I remember any. He did the inking on some of that Legion of Three Worlds, I think.
Oh, okay.
I think. Or maybe I'm just mixing it up with Crisis, where he inked Perez for a little bit.
Yeah. I'm certain he's drawn them a few times, like maybe when they got stuck in the past for a while, they showed up in Shazam. He drew a bunch of those crossovers like 0 Hour.
Oh, yeah, 0 Hour. Yeah, for sure. He might have done some Who's Who entries of Legionnaires, too.
He drew a lot of Starboy as Starman, I think. He did JSA for a while.
Oh, did he do that? Did he do a lot of JSA?
Yeah, they brought him back to do it because he's kind of associated with those characters because of All Star Squadron.
Right. He's kind of he was on the skids in his career then, right? Like he didn't have his Shazam comic anymore.
Yeah.
Just a handout kind of gig.
I think that's all I kind of I think he's still like in that position.
I guess so. I hope he's doing okay. I hope
Dan Jurgens keeps getting work.
Jerry Ordway is so much better than Dan Jurgens. Like Dan Jurgens must have an agent who's really good or something like that, and Ordway doesn't.
Right. Dan Jurgens is like a poor man's Jerry Ordway.
I think he's a poor man's John Byrne. We're gonna have to agree to disagree on this.
Okay. Right.
What else does this dude say in his letter? He has a big section about talking about the United Planets as potentially an imperialist organization, I guess, and not a nation.
Yes, he says, as certain nations of the world view the United States intervention in other nations' affairs as imperialism, certain nations and certain citizens of that nation, perhaps. Is it not feasible that the United Planets could be sometime accused of the same? That would seem almost certainly to be the case. But I don't know how much that was ever addressed later. Maybe in 5 years later.
I think even in that they don't go there. Like they have the government of Earth become kind of a fascist dictatorship type of dystopian place, but yeah, they never suggest that the United Planets is a organization that's like a colonial imperialistic empire.
Yeah, maybe not in so many words, I guess. Certainly no superpower. England didn't think of itself. Well, maybe they were. Were they explicitly an empire?
The British Empire.
Yeah, they were. Maybe they're not a good example.
Well,
the United States doesn't. The United States doesn't consider itself imperial.
Yeah.
But it is.
Well, yeah, only because they don't call themselves that doesn't mean they don't think that they are.
Right.
I think maybe the United Planets is it's not like ruled by a single figure or a single even like a council of people. It's all kind of run as a huge bureaucracy in a way, and they've got Weber's World where all the all the business of the United Planets take place, but they never show us the Emperor of the United Planets or the President
Well,
of the
right.
United Planets or the High Council of the United Planets.
But you
Maybe
don't have
way
to be
later they do.
explicitly like an empire with a monarch to have imperialist. What's the word I'm searching for?
Like motivation.
Right.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think maybe they sidestep all of that by saying, or by
Mm-hmm.
maybe by excluding the idea that anybody has any kind of goals for the United Planets and what they're planning to do,
Right.
other than just the unity of all the planets, you know?
Yeah.
And then what does Paul say about that? He's really sidesteps. He doesn't even want to talk about it.
I know. It's a little almost dismissive in that first line.
Yeah, leaving words like imperialism aside, any political structure as large as the United Planets is bound to have been in trouble of all description, including the
Right.
type of situations you posit.
Well,
And
what about
that's kind of that's his kind of boilerplate for any kind of like complex political
right?
religious stuff. He's like, well, it's too complicated to put in a comic book. Maybe someday
Right.
we'll get to it. It's kind of what his response is to any of that stuff.
Were Dawn Stars people crazy about being part of it? Were they kind of forced into it, or
I don't know. I don't know if they ever even addressed it.
I was going to say maybe they're also just sidestepping it because Star Wars is so big at that time. The Empire.
Oh, I guess
That
so.
calls to mind that.
His next section, he's talking about science police and taxes,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants to see the United Planets Constitution. Robert Courtney begins this section of his letter by saying he's a student of the Constitution and a libertarian.
Right. And then he proceeds to complain about taxes, but not in the way we would expect. He's talking about taxes to inhibit the growth of the Legion, which is maybe a better argument against taxes than what I usually hear from libertarians.
Yeah. He as explained in an I don't know issue of Action Comics, the Legionnaires can't have more than 24 members, or they have to pay a tax for their club. And
Right.
he suggests that that would be, I guess, unconstitutional under the United States Constitution because it would be prohibiting or it would be putting a.
It would deprive people of the right to assembly.
Right.
That's
You wouldn't
his
be able to
argument.
assemble without paying money. It would be a pay to play system.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a thin argument. I mean, maybe he's right, but they're an organization now. They're not just people assembling. It's like like a police force saying we want more cops on the beat, or we want more.
Yeah, I think probably at this time in history in the 80s in the Baxter Legion, yeah,
Mhm.
they're like a duly deputized United Planets outfit,
Right.
whereas originally they were a club of superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe there's some kind of distinction that could be made that they didn't used to be part of United Planets
Mm-hmm.
outfit, and that's when they were paying taxes, or that's when it was suggested they should pay taxes. I don't know. It kind of all depends on the lobbying power of the group,
Right.
whether they should be paying taxes and whether they have influence over government. I guess
Yeah,
maybe.
I don't remember when they first explicitly established that they're in league with the United Planets, but it makes sense if you're going to start applying that kind of reality to these stories. They would be causing international or interplanetary incidents all the time if they're just going around blowing up buildings, fighting bad guys, and
Right, if
willy
they're
nilly
just a
vigilantes.
vigilante security
Right.
force funded by a billionaire,
Mm-hmm. Not a good idea.
libertarian vigilante security force.
Right. They're like,
Yeah, you
yeah, like what were those fellows over there in Iraq?
Blackwater.
Like Blackwater billionaires, private army.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah. Well, I can agree with his reservations about the science police, at least. Fine. What does he say?
He
Yes.
says, I find many aspects of the 30th century disturbing. Aside from science police procedures, perhaps people of the future voluntarily surrendered some of their rights in order to gain more security from the criminal element.
Right.
The science police procedures he must be talking about are like where they erase your brain if you've committed a crime.
Oh, right.
Or they put you in a suspended animation prison or something like that.
Yeah, and I think maybe they have like some weird, like they could watch you in your apartment kind
Yeah,
of
they did
shit.
have some of that. Like there's some kind of drone law enforcement, and
Hmm.
yeah, the science police does a lot of stuff that even in this backward century of ours, we
Right.
would find to be violations of our civil rights, I
Though
think.
it's strange within the stories, it doesn't seem like the writer takes issue with what they're doing. They're not depicted as malevolent.
Well, right. It's because
Right.
it's the recipient of
Hmm.
that kind of those police consequences are
Hmm.
like supervillains. They're all real awful people,
Right.
or people who really need help, or something like
Hmm.
that. Like they just happen to be the ones that we've been watching in their sleep and monitoring
I
twenty
think
four
they've just
7.
they've just so slowly, incrementally eroded all the people's civil liberties that they don't even notice. They don't
Right.
even complain about it. They're not even nervous about it. That's just what they do. They just watch us when they're eating and sleeping.
Yeah. Well, that's happening right now. We were just talking
Yeah.
about it.
Yep.
Like when you check that little EULA
Yep.
that you agree that you read that and you didn't read it,
Hmm.
that's the first little pebble rolling down that snowy mountain. It turns
Right.
into a giant uh, fascistic
Yeah. It's always funny that
surveillance dystopia.
the people who seem to be the most concerned about the government spying on them don't think twice about clicking those and letting corporations do the same thing.
Yeah,
Carry around a surveillance device in their pocket.
right. Well, and agree that you can monitor every word I read on my computer, and
Right.
ugh, like no wonder you can't get newspapers anymore. Like you can't keep track of which articles I read in a print newspaper, and
Nope.
I can't agree to sell it to you or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
give it to you so you can sell it. What a racket!
Right.
I wonder what Robert G. Courtney's doing right now. I wonder what he's up to. I wonder if he's moved more to the right or more to the left as a student of the Constitution of the United States.
Perhaps he's living in a bunker,
A school bus that's buried 8 feet
log cabin out in
underground.
the woods, typing manifestos.
You think
Or he
he was a
might be.
Unabomber?
Didn't that guy just fucking kick the bucket?
Mm-hmm. He just died.
He didn't just he committed suicide, right?
I don't know.
I think he
I
did.
didn't read anything that said one way or the other. I kind of
I think he
assume
did.
he did. He was mentally ill. He was not in good shape, but I don't know.
Right.
He was also 80 or something. He'd been in jail for a long time, and now he decides to kill
You
himself.
know,
So who knows?
yeah, it seems kind of late in life to do
Yeah,
that, unless you're, possibly dying a painful death,
could be. Maybe he
some
was
kind
going to
of
be
disease.
paroled and go out back into the regular world.
Oh,
I doubt that.
think you got Epstein.
I saw a funny tweet though. It was like the Unabomber only killed 3 people with his bombs. Henry Kissinger considers him a lightweight or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And Henry Kissinger, he's 100 years old. He's still free as a bird. He
was
killed a
he
lot more
already
people.
was he already in the upper, like in government before the Nixon administration? Does he predate him?
Oh, I don't know. Like he must. He didn't just come out of nowhere, right?
Well, right, but
But I don't know if he made any big decisions like Vietnam or anything like that before Nixon. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if he's like a Rumsfeld where he's there and he goes away and he
right.
comes back again, and goes away and comes back again.
Yeah, I think I read something that I didn't look into it deeply, but it seemed to imply that maybe he was a guy like that, like a
Oh,
Rumsfeld who might have had a history before even the
could
Nixon
be.
administration.
Like he maybe literally did start Vietnam instead of just
He
prolonging
was
it.
there. He started the whole fucking thing. No,
It's like,
he
yeah, it's like him and JFK were like, hey, let's
like
start a big
worked for
war.
Kennedy. Yeah,
Yeah.
possible.
He's like, hey, JFK, before I organize your assassination, what do you say we start a big war over in Asia? Okay,
Right.
sure. It's my legacy, bro. That's my JFK. He's like a California surfer guy.
Yeah, I think you have to put the mid Atlantic accent on that though.
Well, but I can't do
It's
it.
kind of hard to mix those together.
Hey, bro. Yeah, I can't do it. I can't do that Massachusetts accent whatsoever. So my JFK is just going to be a stoner
What did
surfer
they
guy.
wax him for? It was it because he was making nice with Khrushchev?
No, it was because he and RFK were trying to take down the mob.
Oh, a mob thing.
But then also,
Okay.
I saw a really good documentary
I
that
heard there
said,
was talks though. He was talking. It was Khrushchev, right? Around that time,
I
I
think
think.
so. Yeah.
Like he had been talking to him, and he was even like, had he lived, his hope was to during the space race just say, "Hey, let's just combine. Let's just work together on this." Like the
Oh.
Russians and the U.S., go to the moon together,
Uh huh.
and that would have been an off ramp for like the Cold War business. But then it didn't happen, and who knows? Maybe someone wanted the Cold War to keep going.
I'm sure.
But what did the documentary say?
Oh, it was good. It really made a good case for the fact that, or for the idea, the theory that the CIA did it, but it was an accident.
An accident.
Like his security detail like went
Uh
out and
huh.
partied a bunch,
Uh huh.
and like one guy had to call out sick, so they substituted him with another guy, and that guy didn't know what he was doing, and like he dropped his gun, and it fired this wild shot and killed them or killed him.
Whoa.
And I don't know. Like all I remember is this visual of this reenactment where there's like how there's like the guys on like the bumper of JFK's car, and he
Uh-huh.
like fumbles like this rifle in his hand. But they have all these
Like it was
diagrams
right
and stuff.
there.
Yeah, they have all these diagrams. It's like that supports this theory that like no, it's just this bungling CIA guy, and then they had to do all this covering up. Like they talk about like how his autopsy records disappear and shit like that.
Wouldn't it be like a totally different shell though? I mean, because
I
they probably have like handguns on them, right? The guys running beside the
This was
car.
a rifle. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I watched
I
it
thought
on
you were going to say
Hulu. So
something like they just wanted to graze him or shoot him in the arm
oh,
to, like Reagan, like as a warning.
wait, is there an idea that Reagan was shot at by the
No,
CIA?
no,
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
But I mean, I've seen so many of these different things where they talk about the different motivations for why somebody would want to kill Kennedy that I can't even remember them all anymore. I don't know. Just that CIA one, like that was
Well, he was
like
in
the
fucking
if
Texas. Pretty much everyone there wanted him dead.
I guess so. Just that one Hulu documentary, or I saw it on Hulu, where it's like, oh no, it's just some stupid drunk CIA guy fucked up and accidentally killed him, and then they had to cover up the whole thing. Like, oh, that sounds actually kind of more reasonable than all these other ones where it's like, no, it was
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Oswald, but
Like,
he got hired by Russia, and then Russia tried to kill him, and there's duplicates and doubles of Lee Harvey Oswald, and he actually wasn't going to do it. It was the mafia. Like, come on, I don't know, I don't know.
right. Oh yeah. I guess the mob had it must be because was it Ruby? He was a mob guy, right?
I think so. I think Ruby. They say some people say Ruby was like also like brainwashed, or he was like Manchurian Candidate type of thing.
Okay.
I can't even remember. But I think Robert Kennedy was like the what he was like a big like attorney general or
Mhm.
high up district attorney or something, and one of his pet projects was going after organized crime. And I think maybe that's why they say that he got killed and why JFK got killed. But I don't know. Can't remember how to keep it all straight.
Just think if that poor guy hadn't been killed, his son might have grown up believing in vaccines.
Have you seen shit about Sirhan Sirhan?
No, Syrian, Syrian.
That's the guy who killed RFK Senior. RFK Senior.
I thought he was like a something like a kitchen.
He was. He was like a bellboy or a busboy at this
Yeah.
restaurant. But like I watched something, I can't even remember. It was just like Unsolved Mysteries or something, like some real mainstream kind of
Yeah.
explanation of what happened. And there's like this mysterious man and woman who were seen in that hotel. Like Kennedy's like cutting through the kitchen of this restaurant or this hotel to
Mm-hmm.
get whatever to avoid the crowd or something.
Uh-huh.
And somehow Sirhan is there, knows where he's going to be, and has a gun and shoots him like repeatedly. Like he goes crazy and shoots him a bunch.
Right.
But then there's like people talk about like this woman, mysterious woman in like a very specific kind of outfit. Like she has a blue dress, a lady in a blue dress, and then she's with
Mhm.
this man. And it was an interview with Sirhan, and he's like, yeah, this beautiful woman came and started talking to me. And like you see these pictures of him from back then, and he's like this scrawny kid,
Right.
and he's like, yeah, this woman in this blue dress, she came and she was talking to me and she was like made like she wanted to have sex with me and I was going to go have sex with her later.
Oh,
And then next thing I know, I'm standing over Robert Kennedy and I just shot him and the gun was in my hand. And it's as if she did some Manchurian Candidate shit on him and
uh-huh.
hypnotized him into killing RFK. I have no idea. And they're like, Sirhan is a dumb person. Like all these interviews and all these like psychologists and stuff. Like he's not some criminal mastermind. He's not a bright guy, you know. So I don't know. It's really strange. It's really weird when you start looking at those things. And I don't know how much of it is just twisted to make a crazy unsolved mystery story or what.
He just thought he was gonna get fucked. So
Yeah, but like, why did he? So I'm gonna kill a guy instead of
guys
getting
will do
fucked.
stupid people. Well, not
Oh, was she
he was
like,
gonna get
hey,
to fuck.
yeah, like I'm gonna,
Like
if you kill him, I'll have sex with you. You think that's what
I
it
think a
was?
lot of guys would do some crazy shit if they thought they could just have sex,
Yeah.
especially if
But
they're
he
hot.
claims he didn't remember a bunch of stuff too,
Yeah.
which was really strange. It's a weird situation.
All
But
I
that guy's
know
still
is
alive. I think he's still out there, you know?
all I know is his son's a piece of shit. And but I I would imagine if your father and uncle were killed in such a way that they both seem like they might have conspiracies within them, maybe it doesn't seem so weird to believe that the whole world is made up of conspiracies.
But anyway, Robert Courtney, he makes it clear that he would like to know a little bit more about the inner workings of the political structure of the United Planets.
Mm-hmm.
And Paul Levitz just says no. I guess he's like, it's not. Maybe we'll get into it. Maybe we won't. And I don't think they ever really do.
Yeah, I mean, he gives kind of a bullshit answer. Like it's just too vast and big to fit into the confines of the comic.
It's just a
I don't.
simple monthly comic book.
I don't buy that. I think a legitimate argument though is you don't want to pin yourself in any more than you have to. Like, so if you're not explicit, it's not going to limit you in future stories. But yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, the way Paul Levitz always says it, it's as if I don't know. Somehow there's not enough white paper and black ink
right,
to explain all this, and we know that's not true. You can do whatever you want.
right,
I mean, you can do whatever your creativity allows you
right,
to do,
right,
unless there's no will to do it. And in Paul Levitz's case, he's not willing to do it.
right. He might not even really have the know-how. Like, it's all they leave it vague enough that you might not have. He might not know a whole lot about politics and how government is structured. So he wouldn't have the know-how to do it anyway. But this way, he sounds smart,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like if it was me, I would be like, I wouldn't know where to start talking about that kind of stuff.
Right,
I would need to be a lawyer or something before I could really do that story.
right.
But he doesn't even try to fake it. Like Giffen and the beer bombs, like they do a better job of that. And I know that
Yeah,
they're no closer to being.
I think maybe Tom knows his shit.
I know he's a smart dude. I think he's one of maybe the smartest writers that they've ever
It
had.
doesn't
But
sound like I'm obviously not an expert either, but it doesn't sound made up. The stuff I've read within the it sounds grounded in real politics and real government. Like maybe he's just a really good at hiding it, but it seems legit to me.
yeah, I think it. I think maybe Tom Bierbaum is like a really well read person
Mm-hmm.
of like the news, right? Like
Right,
he's a
right,
journalist or whatever.
right,
Meanwhile, the other people who write comic books, they've read all the sci-fi novels,
right,
they've read all the comic books, and that's all they know. Like, I mean, me
right.
too. You know what I mean? Like, if you asked me to draft some constitution, I would have no idea.
But he had a journalism job outside of comics that probably forced him
Right.
to learn all kinds of things outside of the DC universe.
Yeah, exactly. Once you've seen a lot of that stuff, yeah, like his fake Omnicom articles, yeah, they
Mm-hmm.
read real, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess you could only do that if you've read a bunch of the real thing.
Right. He addresses a lot of very real world problems that they kind of dodged up until that point, like the economy and the recession, for
Yeah,
example.
and it still works. Like it's still
Right.
good. Like kind of. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess it becomes kind of harder sci-fi than it ever was
Hmm.
before. It's a deeper world in those.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I feel like it's almost I've never read those Harry Potter books, but something I've heard about them that sounds like a neat way of writing books is I guess they age up over time. So they become more adult as the characters become older and the readers were presumably they start reading it at I don't know, like 8 and then they read the next one when they're 10, 12 and so on and they become more adult as the reader ages. And 5 years later, it feels like when they're younger, they're superheroes and they're punching each other out. As they get older, it becomes more sophisticated, like
Yeah.
less action, more cerebral.
Right. Like they have to
Or
worry
the
about where their next meal comes
as if
from
the
and stuff.
reader was growing up with the book.
Well, yeah, it's as if they wrote the comic
Mm-hmm.
for their old audience, but then that old
Right.
audience, by and large, seems like they rejected it because they want to
Yeah.
read kids' child's fiction or something.
Right. Right.
People are so fucking dumb, dude. Like, why do you want to be stupid? I don't
I
get
know.
it.
I know.
Like,
I
I mean,
know.
I get being lazy. I'm lazy with stuff,
Uh-huh.
but I can't survive on children's comic books alone. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
I'm an adult. I'm a grown up. People just want that
Yeah.
forever. I don't get it, and it's
It's terrible.
just to sound like an old client, old timer, stick up his ass, dude, for a second.
I feel like to me, I feel like because I have a young kid who likes comics and I've got to be careful what he sees and doesn't see. I feel like they are for grown-ups now, but in all the wrong ways. Like they're not more sophisticated. They're just more gratuitous. Like I think kids can handle sophisticated ideas, especially kids who like comics. We don't need to like, cut Green Lantern's girlfriend's head off and put it in the refrigerator or whatever. Show us Batman's dick.
Yeah. I mean, they could show us Harley Quinn's. No, you're
Right.
right. I think they should show more naked superheroes, but they should have a lot of justification for doing that.
Yeah.
Like they love each other very much.
I don't know. I guess I've always, even before I had a kid, I've always been sort of prudish about all that stuff. What the fuck is this stuff doing in a superhero comic? It just makes me embarrassed to read it. Like maybe when I was a teenager, I didn't want my mom finding it because what the fuck? I didn't sign up for this trace swimsuit model with somehow her ass and her tits are sticking out at the same time.
Did you ever read Heavy Metal and like that all that Euro stuff that has a lot of sex and nudity in it?
I mean, when I was older,
Right.
not when I was like under my mom's roof.
Huh. Yeah. I think I did. I kind of started getting into that stuff when I still lived at home.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how I ever got it. Like I started buying stuff from Kitchen Sink Press, you know?
Oh yeah.
Like it must have started with like Xenozoic Tales.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
must have maybe just asked them for a catalog and they were selling like I think they even carried Heavy Metal or maybe it was like co-publishing it or something. But they had all that Crumb stuff and
Yeah.
just on and on. Like you look at the Kitchen Sink catalog from the late 80s and 90s and it's like
Right.
half like genre or kind of off genre adventure stuff like Terry and the Pirates reprints like Xenozoic Tales,
Right.
Kings in Disguise, which is not a genre thing. It's like a depression era coming of age comic or something, you know. They
Mm-hmm.
have that and then they have a bunch of like porno stuff and underground stuff all in the same thing, like Omaha the Cat Dancer and stuff
See,
like
like
that, you know.
my old man kind of liked some of that stuff. He didn't like follow anything issue to issue, but I think he might have had like a couple heavy metals. He definitely had some Omaha the Cat Dancer. He had some Crumb shit for sure.
I'm baffled by Omaha the Cat Dancer because
Yeah.
it
Isn't
they're
it like
all
Fritz the Cat, but not as good?
I've
Yeah.
never really, well, Fritz the Cat, yeah, it's straight up like satire humor, right?
Right. Right.
Omaha the Cat Dancer is like a soap opera,
Mhm.
but all the people are animals or they have animal heads and human bodies basically.
Yeah.
And like once per issue there's just a hardcore sex scene, but then they go back to like like shit where like your landlord's causing you trouble or
Hmm.
so and so broke up with me and dumped me and left me with all my money and stuff like that, you know.
Is it like the writer wanted to tell more serious stories, but he needs like the fuck scene to get people to buy the book?
i I don't know, like in the credits the writer is Kate Worley and the artist is Reed Waller, and they were married for a while, and then I think they separated and they maybe continued the comic after that. But yeah, like
he's doing the sex scenes, she's writing everything.
Yeah, maybe he's like, well, I want to draw like a cat lady with big boobs,
right?
Fucking a guy with a giant cock. He's a cat also,
right?
And then somebody's like, well, all right, maybe you can fit it in between them, like having to go to the DMV and when she has to go to work or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't know, but it's like when you read it, it's like, yeah, like there's like 3 titillating sex pages of animal people having sex, and the rest is this kind of domestic stuff. Well, I mean, they're like, she's a stripper and she has stripper friends in her orbit and stuff like that, but it's not like all erotic. Most of it isn't erotic. So like if you go to it wanting erotic comic that page after page gets you excited, I don't think it's really that, you know. It's weird. I just, a lot of that kind of stuff, like a lot of like softcore stuff, and like I'm just, I like once you look at it, like who is this for? You know what I mean? Like if it's a movie and it's like a boring drama, but then there's like 5 minutes or 3 scenes total of like hardcore sex, like, well, just give me a whole movie of hardcore sex, or give me a whole movie of cerebral drama. You know what I mean?
You know, he had a couple issues of some kind of, I think it was called like Cherry, and it was like, it looked like Archie.
Oh yeah, that was a long running comic. That's Cherry Pop Tart.
Cherry Pop Tart. Is that the same deal? Like, or no, is it like sex all the way through?
That's sex all the way through. That's a dirty comic.
Is there like a Jughead analog? And
no, I don't think so. I had an issue with that. Like I ordered just like some random stuff from Kitchen Sink, you know, and like they make you like check a box that claims you're 18, you know, and I'm like my hands shaking while I mark that X and Y that I'm 18, you know,
looking around.
And I'm like, I get home from school, I'm like, did I get some comics in the mail? Don't open that box, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I got one issue. Maybe it was like a 3D issue of all things, because Kitchen Sink was doing 3D stuff too. Like there's like 3D Xenozoic Tales.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there's one. It's like a stupid. All I remember is a stupid comic where Cherry Pop Tart's like a candy striper at the hospital, and she's going in to change the bedpan of this guy, and he's like, she walks in the room, and it's like he has this huge erection. And he's like, this might be the last erection I ever have. You have to have sex with me right now. And she's like, all right, if it's going to make you feel better. And then they fuck, you know. It's just moronic. Like that's what Cherry Pop Tart is.
When I started finally getting interested in like indie comics, the comic shop I'd gone to my whole life, I asked if they could carry any of it. And they're like, we have all that. It's in the back. And the back was the porn stuff. And even though I was like probably like 20 by then and old enough to go back, I was just conditioned never to go back there. I'm like, what? And they just, all their Fantagraphic shit and all their Kitchen Sink stuff, they kept it all together. So they shoved it in there with all the, so in between all the crazy porn magazines is like Love and Rockets. And
I know it makes you feel so uncomfortable, but it's totally not the same thing. But it makes a lot of people believe it's the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, like totally. You know, it's like when you go to the comic convention and it's like, well, where's all your indie books? Right. And you have to like go in this box that says 18 only or 18 plus only. And it's like you flip through the all the whatever to find like fucking Don Simpson comics and Love and Rock.
I struggled with that at cons for a while myself, because a lot of my comics have like swear words and stuff like that. And especially the ones I do in color, kids would keep picking them up and looking at them, and the character, they're not doing anything too explicit, but they're smoking cigarettes and swearing and shit. And a couple times I'm like, oh, this isn't for kids, and the parent would like look at me like I'm a pedophile or something. Like, so then I thought, well, I need to put like for mature readers or something on there. But when you write it on there, it's so suggestive.
Right.
Like this is not smut. Right. And then when you're drawing like Charles Schultz looking characters. They almost look like kids, and we're like, oh man, is this going to look like child porn? I don't. The smart guys just keep their stuff in black and white because that automatically turns kids off. So.
That's what I do. I do everything in black and white.
Right.
And the copies are cheaper.
Yeah, for sure. Or you give it a more designerly cover. It doesn't
right. That really bores a kid.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think people's perceptions of that kind of stuff will ever change. Like if it looks cartoony and cute, like
right.
You can't train them out of assuming that's for little kids.
Well, there's this strange double standard too that, when I was dealing with all this and frustrated about it, I'm like, but everybody fucking watches South Park and fucking Beavis and Butthead and all this stuff, but somehow it being in print, maybe because you can't pick up the tone as easily as you can with a cartoon on TV, like you can misread it.
Like if you could take your comic and put an Adult Swim logo on there, maybe people would automatically have an idea what they're getting. Like, oh, this is going to be like Venture Brothers or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah, without that, it's just like, oh, this is colorful. And then they have big round heads.
I should have kept doing it. I probably would have become more successful if I needed the help of the comic book legal defense fund.
Oh yeah, just call up your old friend Charles Brownstein. He's like, I'm having a hot tub party, Chuck. Come on over, dude.
You ever met that guy?
No.
Oh, okay.
You? Yeah, I mean, you know him, right? You're close. You're tight with him?
No. I've been a captive audience to his bloviating before, but I'm going to try to get away from him. But
yeah, I don't know.
Tom Hart introduced me to him one time, and then he got him talking to me so he could sneak away.
Oh, that son of a bitch.
He was talking to me about that triple dare thing that you and we're gonna do with me and Box, and you backed out of it.
That's not true.
Like, fuck, you're like, this is a dumb idea. I don't want to do it.
Nobody ever asked me to do that.
Yes, we did. We did. We totally did.
It was going to be that triple dare, that series that they did?
Yeah.
I have no recollection of this.
It was going to be Box Brown, myself, and you.
I don't remember this at all.
Yeah. Well, it never turned into anything anyway. So,
are you sure somebody asked me about this?
Yeah, you were on the email thread, and you're like, you're like, I hate Jam Comics or something like that.
Well, that's what it was. Was it a Jam comic or was it just 3 stories by
3 stories? People? It would have been 3 separate stories. I mean, there's like constraints, like. We each come up with a rule, and then all 3 of us have to follow those 3 rules in the story.
That doesn't sound very fun.
Well,
I bet I just thought I couldn't do it. I would be too busy, and you guys are better than me, or something like that.
Oh my God!
I'm sure that's why I would have declined.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been like, I think
I don't want to be lumped in with these losers.
You guys, I'm a lone wolf.
Yeah, but the plan was Tom Hart was bringing that back through retrofit, and
I don't remember that at all. I don't remember ever hearing about that.
You could have been somebody. You could have been a contender.
I mean, I don't remember that at all. I mean, does Box Brown have a grudge against me about that, or does Tom Hart?
No, I don't think so.
Are you the only one who remembers it? Because I have no recollection of this.
I mean, do you want me to ask Box if he remembers?
No, I don't.
No, I think I could probably find the thread if I dug through my.
Yeah, I was just thinking I could search my email. Maybe it's still in there or something. But
I don't remember.
All that stuff got deleted if it's old enough.
I don't remember if it was on email or if it was like Twitter messages. But
yeah, that's weird. I don't remember that at all.
Memories.
Yeah. Let's go to the next letter.
Oh, there's another letter.
Oh, there's a lot more. We're still on the first page of 2 letters. 2 pages.
Oh, we better get serious. I better get serious. Okay.
Lee Dickinson, Buena Park, California.
These are long fucking letters.
I know it. They got 2 pages, 2 pages of letters, and they're just like, well, we'll put the longest ones in here.
Right. They're giving that last guy had 3 columns.
Yeah. This guy, Lee Dickinson, he's talking about issue 20.
Right.
It made me laugh. He's like, he's critical of the story. He likes the art and the color in the issue, but he thinks
it's missing some X factor, some vital ingredient that he can't put his finger on.
Leaves him an empty feeling. But he comes around. He thinks of a word to describe what's missing.
Yes.
Cleverness. Just
Cleverness.
not a very clever comic. But he says that it seems like it's written by someone who's overworked or not getting enough sleep.
Right.
Damn. I guess this is one where it's like some time displaced legionnaires are on they meet the controller who's breeding sun eaters or something like that.
This is that missing Legionnaire storyline where like 6 of them were disappeared for like 8 issues or something, and they end up at this Sun Eater factory that the controllers are
right, and evidently Tyr is part of this story too.
Yes,
he says it had a lot of originality, a lot of imaginations, a lot of possibilities, but it didn't seem to grab me, which can be said for pretty much the entirety of the Baxter series. But yeah, he says it's lacking cleverness. It's
I
just
guess I don't.
doesn't have much follow through of the story.
Is that what he means? I was trying to figure out how something could be imaginative but not clever.
He compares it to some other story where they have the characters have a really thoughtful solution to whatever solving the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in this issue, they just kind of punch their way out.
Brute force.
Yeah, like the setup is there, but it's concluded with, oh, well, let's beat up everybody and go home. Kind of, I guess is kind of what he's saying. And he compares it to the Star Trek movies. He says it's kind of like when you watch Star Trek, the motion picture, where it's pretty, but it's dull. When really you want the exciting adventure of Rathacon.
Right, but that's Star almost Trek, the opposite. Yeah, that's the opposite argument.
Star Trek one, right?
The first one is probably the more cerebral of the two. Like it's more high concept and them using their wits. The second one is more punch them.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's almost like the wrong argument, the opposite argument.
Yeah, and also, I mean, I don't know that one Star Trek movie was more or less clever than the next one. I don't know about that. So yeah, he doesn't really make a very good case. Just that everybody thought that Star Trek the motion picture kind of stunk, even though it had everything going for it, and Star Trek 2 was a lot more fun.
And for the record, I love the first one. It's just a little too long. The space scenes are too slow.
I've only ever seen that director's cut one. Do you suppose like the theatrical one is like a half hour shorter or something? I don't even know.
Maybe the director's cut is shorter. I just remember watching it as a kid, and like the space scenes where they're introducing the ships last forever. Yeah, like for like a song, the entirety of a song, you know. Yeah. And I think it's because they're trying to like the awe and the spectacle of seeing like the ship on a big screen, and they want you to see every little angle of it. And they're probably influenced by like 2001: A Space Odyssey with all those kind of slow space shots.
Right.
But it really it adds an extra unneeded like 25 minutes to the movie. There's so many of those. But I thought it was a good story.
Thinking back, it's like, yeah, as an adaptation of that show to a movie, it's pretty good. Like it has kind of the same spirit, but yeah, it's kind of bloated. Yeah. There's like too much slow paced stuff.
Well, it was envisioned or planned out as a TV series originally, and then they changed plans and tried to condense it into a film. It still has some of the trappings of a longer form series. Like it's introducing, like we have a new young guy because Kirk is old now. We need a new young guy and young girl that is his love interest, and they're putting the crew back together. And there was supposed to be this whole thread explaining why. This is kind of like baggage from a longer form story that they didn't fit as well. I think it would have been a good TV series if it happened.
Yeah. I guess Paul Levitz's excuse for writing such boring comics is that he is overworked or undersleeped because he has a kid. Boo.
So I have a kid, something you'll probably never have living in your mom's basement.
Yeah, Lee. He says snidely, he's like, hopefully you'll find subsequent issues stronger on the cleverness front. Curtis Beavers, Bedford, Indiana. He wants to congratulate the Legion on their upcoming 30th anniversary in the April 1988 issues of this comic. It's going to be issue number 45 and then Tales of the Legion 358. He says, with this much notice, you should have quite a spectacular build up to the celebration.
Boy, if only he knew.
Yeah, what a disappointment he's going to get.
Right. I hope you like the Luck Lords.
Uh-huh.
Not so clever.
Issue 45, the what is it, the 30th anniversary special issue, stunk. What a bust, what a turkey.
Not a great cover though.
What's the cover? I can't remember it.
It's like Lightning Lord's hand up there, and like Lightning Lad is above him, like his back is all arched. He's getting electrocuted.
It's Ken Stacy one,
I think
right?
so. Yeah, it's kind of painted.
Pretty nice. Yeah, not much to recommend that issue.
But we'll cover it just the same. To David's dismay.
Levitz points out if he's himself still around to write 45, he'll have written the 20th, 25th, and 30th anniversary stories of the Legion.
Little did he know there would be no 40th.
No 40th, no 45th or 50th, no 60th. We're nearing the 70th, I think. Mm-hmm. Or did we just pass 65? Nothing. There's been no more anniversary stories.
Well, maybe they did, though, right? It just, they're not the same guys.
But I don't think they celebrated anything. Mm-hmm. And in fact, it was like I've been looking at those facsimile reprints that DC keeps putting out.
Uh-huh.
And I saw a tweet where somebody was like, this is the anniversary of either the 65th anniversary, I guess, or some anniversary of Adventure Comics 247 having been released. And I'm like, oh, this would be the perfect time to put out facsimile reprint of Adventure Comics 247, since DC has been so hot and heavy putting out facsimiles of Superman #1, Captain Marvel, newer shit like, I don't know what, like Brave and the Bold from the 70s or something. But no Adventure Comics 247 reprint. Oh, okay. So that's Legion #100, right?
Oh, yeah. That's probably what it's commemorating, right?
Yeah, I don't think it.
Okay.
It's not an anniversary since their creation or anything. It's just
it's 1998.
Well, 1986 was the 58 to 88 would be the 30th anniversary. 1998 would have been the 40th anniversary. You said that's 1998?
Yes.
So I guess maybe they can shoehorn in a 40th anniversary celebration into their 100th issue celebration.
It says, as part of the Legion's 40th anniversary in comics.
Anything good in that issue? It's got a nice Alan Davis cover, but I bet the rest is just the usual junkola.
I only kept a hold of it because it has a Paul Levitz and
Levitz and Simonson. Yeah,
Levitz and Simonson story.
I remember liking that. Like, they set up kind of a neat plot line, or potentially neat plot line, and then the regular crew comes on and does nothing with it. It's almost as if Paul Levitz wrote it himself. They shit the bed so much following up on that storyline.
There's also like a cartoonier Legion story that looks like Superman adventures, kind of.
Oh, yeah, they did a few of those kind of things.
Yeah, but mostly I think it involves, there was like that period like forever where they put half the team in the present. Just boring bullshit.
Yeah.
Desperately seeking some kind of crossover appeal, I guess.
But I mean, like a series that could support 2 titles up to 100 issues, like why do you have to be desperate for that? You know, just focus on what you're good at.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they were just doing updated versions of all the stories we'd already read.
Yeah, they really treaded water for a couple of years.
Yeah.
Not so good.
Long live the Legion.
Yep, we're on the next letter of Tony O'Connor.
Oh, yes.
Siloam Springs, Arkansas. I don't know how you say Siloam. Siloam. Dear Karen, I think Chris Neal brought up a very good question in LSH number 20, and you seem to sidestep it rather quickly. Of course, I'm talking about his question dealing with the status of religion, particularly Judeo-Christian in the 30th century.
Yeah, why particularly?
I don't know. Why doesn't he think about the other religions?
Right.
You stated you didn't think the LSH was the place to realistically touch on the possible futures of religion. I think the LSH is a great place to address the subject.
Any comic is.
Yeah, he wants to talk about religion, Christianity specifically,
He
in
wants
Legion
Brainiac
comics.
5 to give his heart to Jesus.
Yeah, he wants Brainiac 5 to renounce his intelligence.
Right. Renounce that Kuluan voodoo religion that
Right.
he believes in. And he wants he wants them to be like missionaries, go from planet to planet, converting people, showing them the light.
Yeah, this guy, he tries to make us think that he's just a middle of the road kind of guy who's a little bit curious about why, how come like, I bet they got religion there. You should do a story about it. Like he wants to be
Particularly
that
Judeo-Christian.
that casual about it. But yeah, like
Right.
everything he says is like, well, you got devils. Why
Right.
don't you got God? How come
Well,
nobody ever prays?
you have concepts like Halloween, which is clearly Satan's holiday. So why is
Right.
there a Satan but no Jesus?
Anybody who feels that Halloween is some kind of satanic, dangerous thing, like how far out to lunch can you possibly be in this day and age
Yeah,
to be worried about Halloween being
it's like
satanic?
thinking people celebrating Christmas believe in Jesus.
Right, right.
Right. Like any of our holidays mean anything that
Like this clown, he goes to the stores at Christmas time in December. And he's like, "Oh, I love seeing all these Santas
mm-hmm.
and all these decorations. That means people are starting to believe in Christ again and be
Right.
religious." Like, what are you smoking, dude?
I bet he's
They're
very
buying
mad.
candy.
I bet he's very mad about happy holidays.
I bet he is.
You know, what happened to Merry Christmas? Why can't we say Christmas anymore?
But he'll write a letter and be like,
Yeah.
he's not going to be like, how come nobody says Happy Hanukkah in a Legion comic?
Mm-hmm.
He'll say, why don't they say Merry Christmas in the December 1978 issue? How come nobody said Merry Christmas to Colossal Boy?
Oh, right. I don't even remember the Halloween one.
I don't either. There is a fucking Christmas comic.
I remember that, but was it even Christmas?
Christmas was a part of it. Hanukkah
Oh,
was a
okay.
part of it. They try to find the Star of Bethlehem.
Right. So they did mention it by name within it. Because it wasn't like Happy Solar Day or something.
Something like that, yeah. But it happens in December and they show Sun Boy with a Christmas tree uh
Right, right.
praying to Jesus Christ to bring him all the Christmas presents
So
that he
yeah,
wants.
kind of a like a Unitarian holiday.
Yeah, yeah.
Good idea. We should do that.
I'm curious about this Halloween story. That Night of Madness. I don't know what it
I
is.
know, I know.
Oh, and he points out that there's a witch on the team. Witchcraft is, we all know it to be satanic black magic,
Right.
dangerous anti-Christian stuff. And like, if you're going to put that kind of shit in your comic book, why is there
Right.
no equal representation for Christian God, the real God of
And
the universe?
he preempts the argument. Black white doesn't really make a difference when it comes to magic. In case they tried to argue, well, she's the white witch. He's saying, well, they're both satanic.
Yeah, yeah. Like, yeah, she's a good witch. Like,
right.
This dude hates Wizard of Oz, would never show that to anyone in his family. Witches is witches. They're all bitches.
Mm-hmm. They should have answered with like Satan rules in the future.
Right.
There is no God, just Satan.
He should have typed it all backwards.
Yeah.
But he does end with some good questions, I guess, in a way. Like, for about 75% of his letter, he's like a Christian fundamentalist in disguise, just asking questions.
Just asking questions.
But then he says, my highlight here says, you're acknowledging the existence of belief in Satan. So why is there no God? But then he asks the question, like, are there any members that worship on the Sabbath or any other religious holidays that maybe aren't Christian? Right. If you've got to answer something like that. He says, do the alien members have their own deity like Jesus Christ? He says he doesn't advocate filling the Legion comic with ideas of current mores or Christian ideals. Wink, wink. He does,
right?
But he doesn't want the topic of religion, of Christianity, the religion being ignored in the Legion comic.
It's the 30th century, dude. Like, just look at how much religion has been on the wane as science has advanced even today compared to like 100 years, 200 years ago. Like there's probably like 3 people who believe in God by the 30th century. I'm kind of trolling there. I mean, obviously, there's probably always going to be people who believe in something, but religiosity has declined as society has advanced technologically. If things continue on the trajectory they have been for the last 100 or so years, there's probably going to be far, far less religious people by the 30th century.
Definitely. Like, if you follow UFO shit the way that I do,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they're always talking about the reason that the government doesn't disclose the existence of actual extraterrestrial beings and UFOs and stuff is because it would so upset the religious beliefs of so many people that it would just be chaos. So that's why they won't tell you, because up there it's heaven. It's not outer space full of other planets and aliens. And
Right.
so 1,000 years in the future, when basically every whatever 50% of the people you see in Metropolis is a non-human alien, well, how can you believe in Jesus after that?
Yeah, I don't. How do Christians get around that in real life nowadays? I mean, the heaven part aside, the whole Adam and Eve business. Wouldn't that is there? Did he put an Adam and Eve on every planet?
I don't know how they think about that. I mean, there's some reasonable people who say that stuff in the Bible is just like they're fables or mythological types of stories, and they're meant to teach us a lesson, not to be literal truth. And other people are like, no, it's all literal too. It's truth. I read it in this book that was written and rewritten like a billion times before it got to me.
I guess there's been some sci-fi stories, maybe even on Star Trek. I can't remember where like maybe Eden wasn't on Earth.
Oh yeah, like that does sound like Star Trek.
Right.
And it's like Kirk goes and he like seduces Eve.
Right.
Like he's the devil.
Right. He's like, what does God need a starship for? You say that in Star Trek 5. Remember they flew to God.
They go and they meet God, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not the God. It's just some spaceman. It's not God. It's not Jesus.
Yeah, they kind of copped out and said maybe he was masquerading. I like the idea that he was God when God was kind of an asshole and they had to destroy him.
I like the idea that there's a Star Trek episode where Kirk lands on some Eden planet, and he's like, hey, you want an apple? It was on my spaceship.
It's like every episode of the original series.
Pretty much, yeah. It's never that, like, obviously,
right.
Like a Bible takedown.
Right.
like Kirk, he's turned into a reptile for this one episode, and their food replicator is on the fritz and it's spitting out apples. Oh, and they land on the Eden planet where there's only this one man and this one woman, and they both have like leaves covering their hoo-hoos.
Well, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't have until they ate the apple.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they're all shown from the waist up.
Yeah.
Until he like makes out. He's got a long fake tongue, and he makes out with the girl because she's like never seen an Earth snake man before.
Right.
And he's like, well, this is what a snake man kisses like. Have you ever kissed an Earth snake man? And she's like, oh, I don't know. What would that be like? I've only ever seen another man who looks like this guy. And he's like, well, come here. And they embrace. And then he's like, you hungry? And he brings out a bushel of apples that has been made by the food replicator, and they eat them all, and they get diarrhea real bad. And the next thing you know, she's like, I gotta wear a diaper.
I've been trying to show my kid those, and we had one on earlier tonight, and they were on some planet where the kids have some disease where they're starting to age rapidly. They're just growing up faster. And of course, they found some like young little girl, but McCoy's like, she's becoming a woman. She's like a teenage girl, and she's giving Kirk lovey eyes. And I'm like, maybe we'll watch a different episode. Like he's gonna be fucking this 6-year-old by the time the episode's over.
Wow. I always thought those shows looked like simultaneously like boring as hell and kind of scary. Like when I'd see them as a little kid, like when I was a kid, there was a show that would kind of come on after like the news, as reruns, at night. And so I'd only ever see like the first little bit of it. Like my mom watched it after the news at like 10:30 or something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you watching this? It's so boring looking. But then there'd be weird stuff. Like I watched that one called, it's that one Charlie X, where the kid has some kind of omnipotent power, and he's like this Charlie X one, the guy is like a teenager, but he's like really like mixed up and upset, but he has these powers, and like he gets mad and he like makes people disappear and stuff. Like, oh yeah, he's always like doing this like Stanley Kubrick, like looking through his eyebrows thing like this, you know?
Right.
And he's like, I'll make you go away. If you make me mad, I'll make you go away. Like we still joke about this at my house. Like, I'm going to make you
Wish him to the cornfield.
What's that? Children of the Corn?
No, like the Twilight Zone with Billy Mumy, where he's got the powers and you don't want to make him mad.
It's kind of like that, yeah.
You'll turn, yeah.
But there's a part in this.
I know the episode you're talking about. I just didn't think of that guy as a teenager, but you're right.
Yeah, but he does a thing where there's this woman who laughs, and he's like, "Don't you laugh at me!" And then he uses his powers to like turn her face completely blank, like she doesn't have a mouth or eyes or anything. And it was like, this is horrifying. It was really scary as a kid. And she's like, ah, and she freaks out and runs away. It's so weird.
I might have found it scary if I saw it on at night. The only time I ever saw it was on like Sundays around 11 a.m.
Yeah, that was part of it too. Like it was just at dark at nighttime when I should have been in
right.
bed.
I mean, there's so much fucking sci-fi and superhero shit now that it makes you sick. It's like eating dessert all day. But back then, anything remotely sci-fi-ish, I would watch.
Yeah.
So, did we finish all the letters?
Yep, we got to the end. We didn't get to the response to the Christian guy.
Pull your head out of your ass, man. Read a book.
Yeah, he just says that we kind of talk about it sometimes.
Right.
All the religions, not just Christianity. Yeah, get your head out of your ass. Go read some Jack Chick comics. Fuckface.
Stick with the Jack Chick. Read some Pat Boone.
Read Archie's Clean Slate. And that was Legion Outpost for issue number 27. See you in 30 days.